Praise God. Amen. Praise God. Well, we're continuing the Watchman's alarm that we have been sounding off because of what has been going on. You've read already in Ezekiel about the watchmen. There were different watchmen to see, to make sure that they would warn the people of what was coming. Isaiah 21:6-7 said, "Meanwhile, the Lord said to me, put a watchman on the city wall, let him shout out what he sees, and let the watchman be fully alert." And that's something that each and every one of us has been called to do, because this is what God called the people of Israel to do for their people, and the same with us, that we are God's people, and we need to be looking out for the things that are going on, the things that are happening, so that we can sound off the alarm. So the alarm has already been sounding, things have already been happening, and this is something that we all need to pay attention, be alert, and be fully aware of everything that is happening. And this is seeking out the truth. So we have been sounding off the watchman's alarm. And I have also explained that Israel is the prophetic time clock for us today. Anything and everything that is going on, we need to look at what is happening in Israel so that we can see when Jesus is coming back. And with everything that has been going on, pieces of the puzzles have been coming together, that we are now in time of prophecy, that we are in the end times, where we know that Jesus is coming soon, that Jesus will be here in no time, that he will come for his church, that he is waiting for his church to be without spot or wrinkle, so that we can be prepared for him, so that he can come and take his church. And I have been speaking this whole time on headline news, and all I've been doing is talking about the headline news that are going on here. Well, we see it here in the United States. And these are headlines that are going on all around the world, not just the United States, not what just affects us. You know, sometimes we're very biased, and we're like, well, I don't care what's going on across the world. As long as something's good here in the United States, that's all I care about. But you see, because we as God's people are connected to Israel, we have to be looking out for Israel. We have to be aware of what's going on over there. We have to know about their headlines as well as our headlines, because it's all going to come together. It's all going to come together, and it's going to affect us. And that's why we need to be ready. We need to be watchful. We need to shout out when we see things, and we need to alert the people so that we can start getting ready, that Jesus is coming back. Jesus is coming soon, and we need to be ready for when he comes, so that he can take us with him. Amen? Amen. Amen. Praise God. So I'm going to pick up, I've already covered some of the headlines, but I'm going to pick up where I left off. And these are headlines that just happened. I believe it was 2 weeks ago. This happened in February. Yes, this happened in February. So this is something that I wanted to show. This is in February 4th in Abu Dhabi. All religions were represented in Abu Dhabi, and it was a meeting that the Pope Francis, put together so that all religions could meet in one place. So there was a representative of all the religions in the world were met in this one place. Okay? And what happened in this one place, right here you will see the Pope Francis and the Imam kissing. And I know it's kind of weird to see something like this, you know, but this has a great significance, okay? Because in this summit that they did, they signed a document of human fraternity. And this is a quote, a tweet that Pope Francis, who tweets, sent out. And this is what he said: the document on human fraternity, which I signed today in Abu Dhabi with my brother, the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, invites all persons who have faith in God and faith in human fraternity to unite and work together. This is what he said, okay? And if you're familiar with the word, this is pretty heavy stuff. I'm sorry, this is pretty heavy stuff. We're talking one world religion here, okay? This is the beginning of the one world religion that is going to come together. And according to the book of Revelation, there is a beast, a false prophet that's going to rise up, and all the world of all faiths are going to worship as one body. Okay? So this should sound out great alarms. This whole summit was put together, like I said, by Pope Francis, and this was another part of the of human fraternity. It said to share hands, embrace one another, kiss one another, and even pray together. And we're talking Christians, we're talking Islam, we're talking all these different religions coming together to unite as one in human fraternity is what they called it. And this is very, very serious, and this is what we need to be looking out for. The Pope has been trying to unite all the different religions to work together, and there's nothing wrong with people working together, okay? Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with people working together, but when you bring religions, cults, false doctrine, antichrist doctrine together, it is 100% wrong. There is no way that you can combine Jesus, the God of Israel, with all these religions. There is just no way. It cannot be combined, okay? And there is also, the Pope is also, because you see, all these religions, what they're doing is that they're combining into one. Give me the next slide, please. I'm sure you've seen this bumper sticker, the coexist bumper sticker. Every time I see that bumper sticker, I hate it. It says coexist, and you notice that it's the signs of all the different religions put together. That's what it says, that all religions can be one. And every time I see that bumper sticker, it's like, hey, I just rebuke it in the name of Jesus. And you see, this right here, the URI, is the United Religions Initiative that is being brought together. The head of this is the Pope, and there's other religious leaders that exist, okay? The URI, and you'll notice all the symbols across, all around, is because it represents all the religions that are in this initiative. And it says the United Religions Initiative is meant to be for religions what the UN is for the nations, okay? And its purpose is to be the world religious authority, a UN for religion in order to foster peace. Peace comes from Jesus Christ. And it says up here, the United Religious Initiative logo, this logo right here, which is this little star, the URI star, it's a little origami form created in June 1996 at the Global Summit by a 10-year-old Walter Gray. He folded together a multicolored form that he shifted from a circle into a star and offered the following narrative. And this is based on everything of their religion, of this religion or this group. Once the religions were far apart, these different colored pieces are like all different religions. Slowly, the religions get closer to understanding each other, and when they understand and make peace with one another, there will be something there that no one expected, a star. Okay. 10-year-old. They're basing it on a 10-year-old. And this is what, putting all the religions together, we're talking a one world religion. You need to be familiar. This is why this is important. Well, what's wrong with that? This is giving you signs of the end time, of the one world religion where the beast will come and take over, the false prophet. will come and take over all this religion to worship as one and to worship the beast. Okay? Now, Pastor Chris right now read talked about the first commandment. And what was that first commandment again? Thou shalt not have any other gods before me. Exodus 23:6. It's not up there. Let me read it for you. You must not have any other God but me. This is God speaking. This is the words of God giving it to Moses straight out of his mouth. And this is what he wrote with his finger as well. You should not have any other God but me. Okay? Now, what this organization does is that they're saying that the God of Israel is the same as Allah, is the same as Buddha, or I think Buddha. So all those is the same God. And you cannot, you should not. And I'm telling you this, there is no, God is not Allah, Allah is not God. We have the God of Israel. You tell me if somebody from Islam is going to come and say, oh yeah, I worship the God of Israel. I don't think so. Allah is the Islam God. Okay? So no one can lie to you and say, oh, Allah means God. Yes, the God of Islam. But it is not the God of Israel. Do not be deceived. Do not let the enemy poke your eyes on this. Because this is what they're saying. And this initiative brings all the religions together where a Muslim, and they learn from each other and understand each other, and they can adopt some of their beliefs and into their belief. And that's how they're combining this one religion. Okay? Now it says in Exodus, as I was reading, Exodus 20, 1 through 3, it says, you must not have any other God but me. You must not make for yourself an idol of any kind or an image of anything in the heavens or in the earth or in the sea. You must not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God who will not tolerate your affection for any other gods. I will not tolerate any affection for any other gods because I am a jealous God, is what God is saying. You cannot have God and Allah in the same place. I'm sorry, you cannot. You should not. And this is what the enemy is going to try to do, is to deceive people, to make them think, oh, it's all the same thing. It's all the same God. How many times have you heard in your lifetime, oh, we all worship the same God? I'm sorry. I worship the God of Israel. I worship Jesus Christ. It says, I lay the sins of the parents upon the children, the entire family is affected, even children in the third and fourth generations of those who reject me. But I lavish unfailing love for 1,000 generations on those who love me and obey my commands. That's what it says in Exodus 22-6. Now, in 2 Corinthians 6:14-16, notice what it says about the temple of the living God, which is God's people, us. Don't team up with those who are unbelievers. They do not claim Jesus Christ, the Son of God. These religions do not claim, most of these religions do not claim Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Some say that they do, but they have idols. And they have other things that they brought and they call themselves Christians. And it says, don't team up with those who are unbelievers. How can righteousness, now, I've been preaching about being set apart, being cleansed, being made righteous, being, getting right with God. I've been talking about all these things. There's a lot of religions out there that they live like the world, because that's who they are, and they call themselves Christians. That's why they are unbelievers. And it says, how can righteousness be a partner with wickedness? How can light live with darkness? What harmony can there be between Christ and the devil? How can a believer be a partner with an unbeliever? And what union can there be between God's temple and idols? For we are the temple of the living God. Amen. And we need to understand this, that this is what the enemy is going to do. He's going to try to change everything around to say, well then, because it's already been said in many news reports by many, many politicians that Christians are a threat to society. that us Christians are a threat to society. Because we're extremists, because we only believe in Jesus Christ. Well, you know what? I'm not going to have it any different. I will not bow down to anything else except to Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God, who is the God of Israel. We're talking cults, idols, false prophets, etc. And all these people, the New Agers, 200 religions were gathered in that place. This is why we need to pay attention to what's happening. Revelations 13:11 through 15, I've been talking about the beast. It says, then I saw another beast. Okay, there's two beasts. One comes from the sea, there's another beast here. This is the false prophet. Then I saw another beast come up out of the earth. He had two horns like those of a lamb, but he spoke with the voice of a dragon, the dragon being Satan. He exercised all authority of the first beast, which is the beast, which is going to be the one world government. He's going to be in charge of all of that area. And the second beast is in charge of all the religious part. And he required all the earth and its people to worship the first beast, one world religion, whose fatal wound had been healed. He did astounding miracles. This false prophet is going to do astounding miracles, even making fire flash down to earth from the sky while everyone was watching. And with all the miracles he was allowed to perform on behalf of the first beast, he deceived, listen to this, he deceived all the people who belong to this world. He ordered the people to make a great statue of the first beast who was fatally wounded and then came back to life, and he was then permitted to give life to this statue. So there's going to be a statue that's going to be built. This false prophet is going to give it life so it could speak. Then the statue of the beast commanded that anyone refusing to worship must die. That's one world religion. And this is already in the works. This is already happening. Like I said, this is the UN of religion. That's one headline that you need to be aware of that's going on. Here's some quotes right here of the one world order. And I just read about the first beast, that he's going to be in charge of all that. These are quotes of the one world order. This guy, his name is Robert Mueller, and he was the Assistant Secretary General to the UN. Okay? We must move as quickly as possible to a one world government, a one world religion under a one world leader. One world religion, one world leader. And then this guy right here is H.G. Wells also. He said something about that. And this guy over here from the Mikhail Gorbachev, y'all remember him? He was all further global progress is now possible only through a quest for universal consensus in the movement towards a new world order. And that he said it in the United Nations. Do you know what's going on in the United Nations today? We need to be aware of that because there's a lot happening in the United Nations when you think, oh, this is a good thing. I will tell you more about the United Nations. But you see, this idea has been alive for the Antichrist. The spirit of the Antichrist has been here, okay, on earth. And we need to be alert. We need to understand what's going on. Okay. And the next slide, the next headline, this summit happened in Warsaw, Poland. Now, I want you to notice right in the center what it says. Ministerial to promote a future of peace and security in the Middle East. Okay? Peace and security, those two words are very, very important. And there were 60 nations that gathered in this summit. 60 countries were represented here in this summit so that they can speak about peace and security. Basically, this is the stage being set up for this scripture. So this has already been said. 1 Thessalonians 5:3 says, when people are saying everything is peaceful and secure, and what was that meaning for? Peace and security. When everything is peaceful and secure, then disaster will fall on them as suddenly as a pregnant woman's labor pains begin, and there will be no escape. So this is talking about end times. That as soon as people begin to speak about peace and security, the labor pains will begin for the end of time. So this is already in the works. This is already happening. This was a meeting that was done in Warsaw, Poland, and it's very important to us because of what was being discussed. They were trying to discuss peace with Israel. Israel was trying to let them know, okay, this is what's happening with us. There's a lot of countries that are coming against us, and the UN is doing nothing about it, and this is what's happening. So they were trying to bring peace and security, and everybody started kind of looking at this like, well, you know, you're right. So, coming April 9th, the next screen, April 9th, 2019, this is a very important date. This is Kushner, which is the son-in-law of President Trump. He's one of his top aides, advisor, Jared Kushner, that's his name. And he has been going around the Middle East, especially with the Palestinians in Israel and all the countries around that, campaigning for the peace plan. There is a major peace plan that is going to be presented on April 9, 2019. And this peace plan is supposed to bring peace to the Middle East, where everybody's going to agree with this peace plan. Now, we're praying, or you should be praying, that in this peace plan, because right now the Palestinians are fighting with the Israelites right now, or with Israel, and they want to take land from Israel. Now, there's something very dangerous about that. The fact that God made a covenant with Abraham back in Genesis. God made a covenant with Abraham that this land is not to be separated. And anyone that takes land away from his people, there's going to be consequences to that. So we're praying that this peace plan doesn't have any separation of land, because that goes under the Abrahamic covenant that God made with Abraham. And consequences will happen to whoever does that. So let it not be the United States. So be praying for that. Now, this sets the stage for this plan to either be rejected by all the countries there in the Middle East, and we're talking Turkey, we're talking Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, all those countries in the Middle East that surround Israel, that if they reject it, it's either going to bring peace or it's going to bring war. But you see, it's setting up the stage for this next, well, let me show you. The Middle East wants peace no matter what. People in the Middle East just want peace no matter where or who it comes from, okay? In CNN, give me the next slide. In CNN, there was 36 hours with the Taliban. This came out in CNN, and there was a report that was done, and there's a video for it and all that, and this happened in February 2019. And it says CNN goes exclusively behind Taliban lines as the U.S. prepare to pull out troops after 17 years of war in Afghanistan. This is one of the quotes that it said in this article. And notice what it says. To large parts of the country, the prospect of a Taliban resurgence is the terrifying thought. But the reality is that for many Afghans, it doesn't really make a difference who is in charge. Their quality of life has not improved, and after decades of war and hardship, they'll turn to anyone who promises peace. They're going to follow anybody who promises peace. The beast is going to bring peace. That's what he's going to do. But you see, this peace plan is a stage for the beast to come and say, you know what? I got something better. And this is the peace plan, and this is the way it's going to happen. And then you're going to have 7 years of peace. So you see, this is already part of the prophecy that is being fulfilled. And like I said, this peace plan is the introduction, or it could be like the stage setup for the thing that the beast is going to bring peace, okay? And so we need to be very watchful. In Daniel 9:27, it talks about the end times, and it says, and he, this is meaning the beast. I'm not saying that the peace plan is the beast already. I'm saying it could be the setup for it. And he shall confirm, and the word confirm means to make even greater. So that means there's something already done, but he's going to confirm it and make it better. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, a covenant of peace. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abomination, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So there's going to be a contract that's going to be done, and he's going to break it within the middle of that week. And everybody's going to think, okay, this is good, and then something terrible is going to happen. Now, what's interesting, and I hope I'm not boring you, but these are headlines that are important for us because we need to understand what is going on. During the time that the Warsaw Peace Talks, the Peace and Security, the Minister of Campaign of Peace and Security, when all those 60 nations were together, there were 3 nations that didn't show up to that. And they were having their own meeting. And this was happening in Sochi. And Sochi is located in the Black Sea in Russia. And these 3 guys right here are the leaders of Russia, Turkey, and Iran. They didn't show up to the peace talks, okay? They were making their own little meeting in Sochi. Well, what's so important about this meeting? Well, you see, the thing is, they were talking about Israel. And you know that the United States are allies to Israel. We take care of Israel. We help Israel in everything and anything that we can, okay? And among the talks that they were having in Sochi, and this is all reported, it's not something I made up, was the fact that they were talking about Syria. And they were talking about renaming Syria and what they were going to do, what's going to happen with Syria and all these things. And they were talking about Syria and giving it a new name, but Syria was not invited to the party. They were talking about them. They were talking about the future plans of Syria, but Syria was not part of the little party that they were having. They were determining its future and consulting, about it, but they weren't. But Syria wasn't there. Jeremiah 6:22-23 says, "An invasion from the north." These 3 countries are the north of Israel. Okay, an invasion from the north. They're already having good talks. This is what the Lord says. "Look, a great army coming from the north of Israel." Okay, a great nation is rising against you from far off lands. They are armed with bows and spears. They are cruel and show no mercy. They sound like a roaring sea as they ride forward on horses. They are coming in battle formation, planning to destroy you, beautiful Jerusalem. And it's very interesting to know that they were talking about that. Those 3 countries getting together, and they're north of Israel. But Syria is in the way. Syria is Damascus, that area right there. Now, listen to this look at this next screen. The U.S. military announces start of Syria withdrawal. So the United States was in Syria. They are withdrawing, and it's interesting that we've got these 3 nations talking about Syria because now the United States is leaving. So what are we going to do with Syria? So from this time, after that, because of that meeting in Sochi, President Trump decided, I'm going to leave a skeleton crew there in case anything happens. We want to make sure everything is okay. But this is what happened. This is the United States is withdrawing from Syria, so Syria is going to be wide open. And in Isaiah 17:1-3 says, a message about Damascus and Israel. This message came to me concerning Damascus. Damascus is Syria. Look, the city of Damascus will disappear. It will become a heap of ruins. The town of Aror will be deserted. Flocks will graze in the streets and lie down undisturbed. with no one to chase them away. The fortified towns of Israel will also be destroyed, and the royal power of Damascus will end. All that remains of Syria will share the fate of Israel's departed glory, declares the Lord of Heaven's army. You see, Syria or Damascus is already in ruins already, but it's going to be brought to nothing because there's going to be a war. And you see, it's funny that these three guys are already planning on Syria. So you can kind of see what's going on or what's going to happen. So we need to pray for the safety of Israel. We need to pray for the safety of Israel. So now, let's take a look at the United States now. We already talked about the Middle East. Let's talk about the United States now. Let's look at the headlines here in the United States. We all remember this headline. New York celebrates abortion, for late term abortion. We remember this. They lit up the Empire State Building. They lit it up because they were so proud that it passed. And it's pink for the women that have a choice to get rid of their babies, late term abortion. Okay? Very exciting, January 22 for them. But notice what Isaiah 5:20 says. What sorrow for those who say that evil is good and good is evil. That dark is light and light is dark. That bitter is sweet and sweet is bitter. What sorrow awaits those that say that evil is good. Now, in seeing this, I was wondering, why are they doing this? But there, you see, there's already been an update. From the time that this happened, there's been an update on this situation. What if one of those babies, late-term abortion babies, are born? What do we do with the baby? Common sense says, save the baby. It's been born alive. It was intended to be an abortion, but it's been born alive. Let's save the baby. It's alive. Well, there was a big, big discussion between the senators whether they should keep the baby alive, give it aid, or just let it die. Is it really a baby since it was a botched abortion? Should we help the baby? This were the talks that they were having. So there were two sides to this. And this is what happened. House Democrats blocked requests to vote on bill to stop infanticide for the 6th time. They've already voted this 6 times. They said no. And this is, the thing is, I was looking for this. I Googled it because I knew it happened. I saw the reports on Fox News, and Google was not reporting on this taking place. These votes, they did not report on it. I had the youth just last Wednesday Google to see if they could find about these talks. They could not find it anywhere. Google's not reporting on it, AOL's not reporting on it, Yahoo's not reporting, all the mainstream media is not reporting on this, that this has taken place. You will not find it. Every single Democrat in the Senate who is running for presidential voted against a bill that would stop infanticide and provide medical care and treatment for babies who are born alive after botched abortions. So they're saying, if it's born alive, don't let it die on its own. Do not give it aid. And this is the born alive infants deserve protections. And these are all the senators that voted for the babies that would save babies born alive after botched abortion. They voted against it. But you see, this is what's happening in the United States. What is so wrong about that? Well, the Bible, one of the commandments says, thou shalt not murder. We're talking a brand new baby that was intended to be aborted, that was born alive, is to be left alone and to die on its own without any aid. And they call it the Reproductive Health Act, is what they called this bill in New York. It's if the fetus is not considered viable, which means physically fitted to live, or if it or to protect the woman's life, that's when they have this abortion. Now, I know that we're living in the last days, and 2 Timothy 3:1-5 says, the dangers of the last days. You should know this, Timothy, that in the last days there will be very difficult times, for people will love only themselves and their money. They will be boastful and proud. Whoa, were they boastful in New York when that happened? Boastful and proud, scoffing at God, disobedient to their parents and ungrateful. They will consider nothing sacred. A life is already no longer considered sacred. A newborn baby's life is not considered sacred anymore. They will be unloving and unforgiving. They will slander others and have no self-control. They will be cruel and hate what is good. They will betray their friends, be reckless, be puffed up with pride, and love pleasure rather than God. They will act religious. You know how many people, how many of those that voted against to save a child, how many of those consider themselves Christians or religious, and yet they will not give aid to a newborn baby that was supposed to be an abortion? They will act religious, but they will reject the power that could make them godly. Stay away from people like that. Stay away from people like that. You know, and I kept wondering, why is this happening? Why, New York, why are they doing this? Do they not understand what is happening? Well, the other day, I was checking up, Googling something, and I bumped into this, which I feel is very, very important, which kind of explains everything that's going on in New York, because it is unbelievable. Back in 2015, I believe it was ISIS destroyed the Temple of Baal in Palmyra, Syria. Okay? What does that have to do with anything? They destroyed it in 2015, and it was, the people were, how could they destroy a 2,000-old temple? It was the Temple of Baal, the temple where they worship Baal, Satan, basically. Okay, that's who Baal is Satan. And they were very upset that they destroyed this temple that has been there for 2,000 years. Well, these people, this organization, decided to rebuild the arch of the temple of Baal. Okay, and they redid it with a 3D, one of those 3D printers, but they redid it with block and stone and all this, and they redid the arch of Baal, where it was the entrance to the temple of Baal, okay? And they don't go that far. They took it way beyond that. They brought it to New York City. The arch of the temple of Baal, give me the other one. The next, there we go. It's sitting in front of City Hall in New York City. The arch of the Temple of Baal is sitting right there in New York City. Do you know how dangerous that is? We're talking bringing a portal to demonic spirits that came into New York City. And who was Baal? What did they do for Baal? Well, they had orgies. While they were praising Baal, what they would do is they would do orgies all around him, everybody having sex and doing all these bad things, and they sacrificed, wait, what? They sacrificed babies. You bring something like that to New York City and you put it together. Come on, put the pieces together. Is it just me? But this is something, you see, and I've grown up in the Hispanic, culture, yeah. And I've been told, my family's been, I'm third generation Christian, Assembly of God and all this. We learned from a very young age, you do not bring those candles that have the saints and all these different colored candles, because they all mean something and they bring bad spirits in. There's people use for witchcraft glasses of water that they would put on windows, and that attracts evil spirits. We know this. I grew up knowing this. People think there's no such thing as witchcraft, but you bring the archway to the Temple of Baal into New York City, guess what's going to happen? You're asking for trouble. And yet it was there. And then, do you see what's over there? Washington, D.C. They also said it in Washington, D.C. They said it in 1,000 locations all around the world. And this is Satan's sneaky way of blinding people. And you know what's the funniest part about all this craziness about this arch? That they call it the Arch of Peace. Because it was torn down through hatred, terrorism by ISIS. And so this now they're using it as a symbol of peace. I'm sorry, you can't get Satan out of that one. It's for the temple of Baal. And yet they bring it and they set it up and they're so proud and they unveil it and they had hors d'oeuvres and so on and so on. So now it makes you understand what's going on, how Satan is infiltrating into the Christian nation of the United States that we were founded on, how he's brought in. And yet there's a lot of things in all over the United States on things like that where you see different things for different gods and all this stuff. But this is something that it's just amazing. Deuteronomy 27:15 says, "Cursed is anyone who carves or casts an idol and secretly sets it up. These idols, the work of craftsmen, are detestable to the Lord." And all the people will reply, "Amen." Okay, so I'm going to go on. Headlines, some more headlines. Let me see what time it is. Okay, I'm going to, real quick. Putin, there we go. Putin threatens to target West with new missiles. This is a headline we need to watch out for. This is war. He's threatening war with the United States. If we set up any armaments anywhere in Europe, he's coming in and he's going to come in hard. Okay? Here's another one. Let me give you the next one. I'm just going to go really quick. Can I have the next screen? Okay. Do you see that little red dot right there where it says Israel? Can y'all see that little red dot? That's Israel. Look at all the nations across it. And those that have stars are Muslim nations. And all of them are against Israel. And look at Israel. And Israel is defending himself by himself. If it's not the power of God, I'm serious. This is awesome. And you see, they're all coming against. Now, just as an FYI, in Revelation it talks about the 4 horses. One white, one red, one black, one green. Notice the flags of all these countries around Israel. So if you want to find out what happens, read it in Revelations about those horses and what happens with those colors of those colors. In Ezekiel 38:9-10 says, "You and all your allies, a vast and awesome army, will roll down on them," which is on Israel, "like a storm and cover the land like a cloud. This is what the sovereign Lord says. At that time, evil thoughts will come to your mind and you will devise a wicked scheme against Israel," basically. And you see, here's the thing about this. There's wars coming to the United States, threatening of war. There's wars happening in the Middle East. And that the thing about these is that every single one of these has already, threatened Israel. They're threatening Israel. Israel every single day this last week until yesterday as well, they have been having bombs from the Palestinians coming into them. And they're coming into them in different ways. They put bombs on balloons, and when they pop across the gate in Israel or across the fencing, they pop them and it's an explosion that lands on Israel. And yet the UN is accusing Israel and speaking against Israel for defending themselves against all this. So there's already wars happen that are stirring up. Matthew 24:6-8 says, and ye shall hear, Brother Joe, can you please? Matthew 24:6 says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For the nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows." There's natural disasters, and I just talked about the natural earthquakes, pestilences, famines going on in the United States. Natural disasters going all over the United States, one after the other, across the world. Next screen. "And there will be strange signs in the sun and moon and stars, and there on the earth nations will be turmoil, perplexed by the roaring seas and strange sights." Next screen. Okay, just an update. The strongest typhoon record, 180 miles an hour. This happened in Guam. This over here is in Mecca. Locust attacked Mecca. And it was amazing how it attacked it. And it was in Mecca and all along the shore of Egypt and Saudi Arabia, swarms of locusts came towards them. I'm just giving you headlines. These are facts. You can Google all of this. That's why I put where you find it, Jerusalem Post, Newsweek. This is facts. I'm not making up anything. These are all facts. I'm not trying to confuse anybody. I am not trying to cover your eyes about, I'm giving you reality of what's happening in the world so that you can see and you can know what is happening. No matter who may say or whoever may say that I'm trying to confuse things, this is just facts. I'm just giving you facts that are in the papers. Nowhere else am I doing anything else except facts. And this is going on in Mecca. That's supposed to be the Muslim capital of the world, where they go and pray. And there was locusts. It was covered in locusts. Look at that guy. Turn it, please. Next one. This is something that's I was very saddened to see this. Mysterious mass animal death in 2080. Something unexplainable is going on. Mysterious mass animal deaths that is happening all across the world. And look at all the types of deaths. The bees are dying. Unexplainably, all these animals are dying. Okay? There's bats over here. They were all over the place. They were just dead. Fish, Pacific Northwest. In Norway, reindeer just dead all over the place. Thousands of dead starfish in the South Carolinas. And then this is in India right there. And they're all deer and antelopes and things like that. Now, people can blame this on, pollution. They can blame it on the environment. And people might use it for that. They can use it to further the campaign of global warming. But you see, this isn't done by man. In Hosea 4:1-3, it says, "Hear the word of the Lord, O people of Israel. The Lord has brought charges against you, saying," notice what he says, "there is no faithfulness, no kindness, no knowledge of God in your land. You make vows to break them. You kill and steal and commit adultery. There is violence everywhere, one murder after another." That could be abortion. "This is why your hand is in mourning. Your land is in mourning, and everyone is wasting away. Even the wild animals, the birds of the sky, and the fish of the sea are disappearing." Even the animals are mourning, and they're dying off because of all these things. It isn't, you might say some of it might be the environment, pollution in the oceans, things like that. But this is happening all over. If you were to Google it, you'll see it. The images, you will see animals all over the United States, all over the world. Monkeys, dead monkeys, just unexplainably, they just fall and die. And this is everywhere. We need to be prepared. You can turn to the next one. We need to be prepared. We need to be ready. Are you up there? Somebody up there? Okay, all right. We need to be ready. It's not done. Because these are just signs. These are headlines showing us to be ready. To be ready and to be prepared for what's coming our way. I'm just bringing you facts of what you find out there in the papers and they weren't made up, because if I saw one, I kept looking for it until I found another. And I got in and I looked, and I have been reading. I don't like reading, but I've never read as much as I've read this time. Because these are all facts. And that's the sounding off of the alarm, the sounding of the watchman's alarm, that Jesus is coming soon. In Luke 21:34-36 says, watch out. Don't let your hearts be dulled by carousing and drunkenness and by the worries of this life. We shouldn't be worrying about what's going on. We need to worry, or we need to have an urgency of saving those around us, of presenting the gospel and having them know who Jesus Christ is. That's what we need to be doing. We don't have time for pettiness anymore. It's what I was telling the youth group the other day. We don't have time for pettiness. Well, they didn't talk to me, or they were rude to me. We don't have time for that. We're supposed to be heralds. We're supposed to be announcing that Jesus is coming. People are going to be lost in all this. People are going to be deceived in all this. And we have the answers. And it says, don't let the day catch you unaware like a trap, for that day will come upon everyone living on the earth. Keep alert at all times and pray that you might be strong enough to escape these coming horrors and stand before the Son of Man. We need to be prepared. We need to be alert. We need to be ready. Because Jesus is coming back. And these are just simple headlines on the news that I presented to you. So with that said, I want to do an invitation again, and I've been doing it every Sunday because this is important. If you do not have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, this is your chance to get right with God. To put Him first. To know that if something was to happen, if Jesus was to come back, that you will know that you will go with Him. That you will be a part of the rapture, of the taking of the church. And I want to encourage you that if you do not have a relationship with Jesus Christ, you need to have one. Because He is coming back, and He's coming back very soon. So if you know that you need Jesus in your life, just raise your hand, just stand up, and I will pray with you and introduce you to Him so that we know and we can seal your eternity today, that when He comes, you will be called. I'm going to assume, I don't want to keep you here longer, I'm going to assume that everybody knows Jesus Christ. And I praise God for that we're all going to be going together when He comes. But be alert, be watchful, pay attention to what's going on in the land. Pray for Israel. God help them. God be merciful with them. And pray for the leaders of our nation so that our nation can continue giving aid to Israel, so that we can receive a blessing from that. That's why we need to pray for Israel. We receive a blessing, and we're part of that people. Let's pray. Let's all stand and pray.